Hello, and welcome to the second video in Unit 3. Unit 3 discusses how authentic assessments can support human diversity. In the first Unit 3 mini lecture, I talked about the importance of our personal and cultural values and how these inform our assessment practice. In this lecture, I'll discuss how authentic assessments can support universal design for learning principles. Again, the 9 principles for good practice of assessing student learning is a good place to ground our conversation on UDL and authentic assessments. As noted in the principles, authentic assessment should employ a diverse array of methods, and this is the essence of universal design for learning. Universal design for learning, or its alternate phrase, inclusive design for learning, are a set of principles originating in architecture and the built environment. It's a shift that recognizes that the environment can be proactively designed to meet the broadest range of anticipated human diversity. The Ontario College of Art and Design defines inclusive design as design that considers the full range of human diversity with respect to ability, language, culture, gender, age, and other forms of human difference. Just in Canada alone, there are approximately 200,000 post-secondary students with disabilities, the most prevalent of which is pain. Pain is invisible, but it can also be a mobility disability and can also, at times, be connected with mental health. Universal design for learning seeks, as much as possible, to design a learning environment that predicts and plans for learning differences. This not only provides greater access for students with disabilities, but it can help all students become more engaged in academics. Universal design for learning principles strive to promote positive interactions and purposeful collaborations that are equitable, meaning identical when possible, equivalent when not. When we are designing our learning environments, how do we consider the full range of human diversity in our assessment methods? Diversity is a good thing, but an increasingly diverse student population also means that post-secondary instructors face challenges. Students with diverse cultural backgrounds, skills, abilities, interests, experiences, and social economic status require instructors to reflect on their teaching practices and adopt user-centered approaches for course design and delivery. This is where universal design for learning can help. UDL seeks to include the maximum number of learners in instruction by offering multiple paths to get to the same learning outcomes, including multiple means of engagement. They call this the why of learning. Engagement is critical to stimulating interest and motivation for learning. UDL endeavors to design learning experiences that are flexible in order to calibrate learning for each student. Authentic assessment does that by providing for competing solutions and a diversity of outcome. Multiple means of representation, the what of learning. Representation refers to the what of learning by meaning that UDL can provide multiple means of representation by taking a look at how students interact with content and presenting informational content in different ways. So in this course, we're using videos, readings, transcripts of the recordings. The use of creative media for assessments can help to create a rich cognitive learning environment where varied options and interactivity create a more nuanced experience, enabling learners to explore the content from multiple points of view. Again, lectures, readings, infographics are all different ways to present course content. Multiple means of action and expression, the how of learning. What are the varying ways students can express what they know? Providing multiple means of action and expression can be achieved by supporting the development of a learner's ability to manage information. Some students who have a learning disability like dyslexia or a sensory impairment that requires media support. How can the assessment product vary so that students can represent learning in multiple ways? Can students present a paper or a podcast? In addition to the importance of learning outcomes that are constructively aligned to teaching and learning activities and assessment, a UDL approach to assessment asks that we reconsider the purpose and function of assessment. It asks us to return to our values, specifically those values related to equity and inclusion. UDL asks us to think ahead and proactively plan how the assessment is inclusive of multiple means of engagement, representation, and demonstration of learning. UDL also asks us to consider potential barriers in assessment. Barriers can take a number of forms, oriented around ability, skill set, timing, pacing, and medium. Can we offer assessments in different formats and challenge levels and enable students to choose the format? Can a student choose to produce a paper or a podcast or a visual model? What trail of evidence can be used to focus on both the process and the outcome? If students are working on a collaborative assignment, asking them to take minutes of their discussions and their decisions, for example. Returning to the definition of authentic assessments discussed in Unit 1, authentic tasks allow students to create polished products, but there are competing solutions that allow for a diversity of outcome. Student presentations are common in many classes and in many disciplines, so they're a perfect example. Student presentations have the capacity to assess the way a learner's thoughts are organized, to examine how readily a learner can synthesize feedback, connect with an audience, and demonstrate oral and visual presentation abilities in a real-time sense. Student presentations can also be very authentic. For our college's fourth-year education students, for example, we have them develop a poster presentation that is fairly authentic to what one would see delivered by a teacher at a teacher's conference. Again, returning to our definition of authentic assessment, what is the real-world relevance, the social context, and the polished product? A key in designing presentations is that they are designed. What purpose will it serve? What ends will it meet? Is presentation the best method of demonstrating knowledge of particular concepts? Can you work with students to develop different types of presentations that are meaningful in the context of the course? In this great example by Zhang et al., they show that students can choose to present in person, through a video, or lead students through a simulation exercise, demonstrating that each has to come up with a polished product, but there's a diversity of outcome. This excellent resource provides numerous other universal design for learning informed assessment examples. For your learning journal this week, you're going to build on the work you've done so far. In Unit 1, you were asked to identify an assessment that you could make more authentic using the 5-dimensional framework for authentic assessment. In Unit 2, we discussed how authentic assessments can create the conditions for academic integrity by connecting students to their learning goals. In this unit, we strive to take account of human diversity, represented by differing cultural orientations and human ability. In this reflection exercise, we attempt to draw closer ties between constructive alignment, what are the learning outcomes, and your students. Who are the learners, and are there any barriers to your students? The Unit 3 reflection is to review the UDL readings and examples and think further about how your authentic assessments can be further refined with UDL in mind. Those of you who are interested in learning more about universal design for learning, I recommend that you take the course on the topic at the Commonwealth of Learning short course platform, callcommons.org. It's free. In Unit 4, our final unit, we'll look at some of the most frequently asked questions I've received regarding authentic assessments and look at some more examples of authentic assessments from various disciplines. Thank you.